100.4 FM, the voice of Harare, leading the conversation. My name is Owen Kaura, your host in this episode of Tech Talk on the Deep Dive. I trust you had a wonderful day. Now it's just 6 days to go before Election Day, and as they say, it's a silly season. But how silly can we get? What does the law say? What does the moral compass say? Now there has been an increase in news and in fake news, and in this day of information communication technologies, news travels faster than the speed of light. In fact, it is instant. And tonight we're going to discuss the advent of new technologies and how they've affected the delivery of news. And we're going to focus on online or social media news. And to help us understand more, I am joined by Farai Mudzingwa on the line. Well, he is from TechZim, which is an online news platform. And good evening to you, Farai.
Good evening, Owen. How are you doing?
I am very well. And how has been your day?
Hectic, man, hectic. But yeah, it's been okay.
What kept you busy?
The news cycle, man, it never rests. Like you said, election season, silly season. So yeah.
So the hustle goes on.
Exactly, indeed.
All right, great. Now, as usual, the phone lines are already open. If you wanted to contribute or ask questions, you can send your WhatsApp message to 0717 777. You can also call on 495 112. That's 495 112. Now, Farai, on TikTok, we always like to start right from the basics. Maybe you can just give us a brief of what is news, Farai.
Well, Owen, and the listeners, of course, at the heart of it, news is information about current events, and it's also a platform that can help shape public opinion there. So I would say information about current events.
Information about current affairs. Now, maybe you can just take us through the birth of journalism, the need to sell news, and how it has evolved over time.
Okay, well, I think the birth of journalism and the need to sell news work hand in hand. I can't give like specific dates, but of course, like any other product or service, if there is demand and you can monetize it, you're inclined to go that route. So the need to sell news just goes from the fact that people need to consume news, they need to stay up to date, and they need to know what is happening around them and beyond. So because of that need, people or players that came in who sold that news to meet that demand. So it's just driven by demand.
All right, great. Now, if you're just joining us, the program is Tech Talk on Capitalk 100.4 FM, the voice of Harare, leading the conversation. And tonight on Tech Talk, we are discussing this issue of fake news, especially as we get towards the election day. That's next week on Monday. So feel free to send in your contributions on WhatsApp. You can call on 495 112. That's the number to call on. And the WhatsApp number is 0717 777. And I'm joined on the line by Farai Mudzingwa from TechZim, and is going to help us go through this whole issue of fake news, a problematic issue in this nation. Now, since the dawn of time, there has been that need to communicate. In fact, as human beings, we cannot not communicate. But it seems to quench that thirst, bad news, gossip sells more than good news. Why is that so, Farai?
It's really unfortunate, and in my opinion, I would say that simply because as human beings, we are emotional creatures, and we are drawn to things that, appeal to these emotions. So very dramatic news or earth-shattering news tends to draw us in, and we constantly fall for that trap. So usually that's why bad news and gossip sell more than good news or accurate news.
Is it like a drug that gossip or fake news makes you feel good?
Well, I don't think it necessarily makes people feel good, because if you've noticed the trend with fake news, it's also usually negative. But it's usually the dramatic nature of it that draws people to this kind of news.
All right.
It's really about just not wanting to miss out on what's happening and that kind of thing.
All right, it's interesting that we've started this conversation around fake news. We defined what news is, but now let's get to the crux of the matter. What is fake news?
Well, fake news is really news that is intentionally meant to misinform the term has become more popular recently, but in all honesty, it's always been there, but it's only been referred to as misinformation before.
All right, so this is something that started even before the advent of technology, the advent of ICTs.
Definitely, I would like to think that misinformation, what we call fake news now, started as soon as storytelling started. It's really been there for a long time, and to put a specific date on it might actually be impossible. We could say it goes as far back as the Garden of Eden, but it's always, misinformation has always been there.
So it's an age-old problem.
Exactly, it's an age-old problem. Maybe to go to fake news, the term fake news became part of popular culture because of Donald Trump. And around 2016, during the elections in the USA, Donald Trump basically used fake news to dismiss the term. He used the term fake news to dismiss every report that contains negative information about him. And the term is struck, and it's basically now replaced misinformation.
All right, fair and fine. We've got a caller on the line. Let's just quickly hear what they have to say. Good evening and welcome to Capitalk 100.4 FM.
Waswera say always.
Ininda swera maswera say. Ndukutaura nani?
Vutaura na Russell.
Russell, maswera say.
Ndaswera hangu.
How's been your day?
Ade papedzisira kubata. Pandaona zvishua pari kutaura nezve fake news kwaTrump. Izvozvo zviri kuiswa pakuti Trump is a Republican. MaDemocrats ndo akabata media kazhinji. Ende avawirirani. Ende Trump ozobudisa news dzake paTwitter. Saka fake news is do exist even muno muZimbabwe. Wakatasana news day vaiva Standard, Independent. Uitatanga kuona kubva mangwana ma-interpretation avanenge vachiisa anenge akafanana just because they are aligned to the opposition. They are aligned. Kune vamwe vanhu vakaita sangasina Trevor Noah.
Tisingataure hedu mazita evanhu asi tingati ndizvozvo here.
Takatarisa kuAmerica futi you find out kuti media inobatwa nemaJews. maJews ndo vakabata media yese kuAmerica. Saka kana iwe uri candidate uchida kuti uhwine kuAmerica unotanga watombopliza maJew. Saka fake news it do exist is sure, not only on social media always, but kune ma-organs kuti they fall along ma-party lines, ma-propaganda, ma-agendas evamwe vanhu, ma-imperialist, things like that. Pakuti vanenge vachidawo kusponswa nemari dzinenge dzichiuya. Saka ndo zvimwe zvinhu zvinotikanganisa isu kuti tinyasokwanisa kubata nhau chaidzo chaidzo. Iko nhau chaidzo tikutodzinzwa kwamuri imimi ana oyi. Ndimi muri kutidzora munguva yedu yakudhara yana Mike Munyati. You still remember? Capitalk ndinoenzanisa panguva yakudhara yateterera red.
Tinotenda ne-compliment yenyu, Russell. Thank you very much for your contribution. If you are just joining us, the program is a Tech Talk on Capitalk 100.4 FM. And tonight we are discussing fake news, especially online as well as social media. How does it affect us? And I have Farai Mudzingwa of Techzim who is on the line. And he's just going to quickly take us through some of the issues that involve fake news. What is it? How do we curb fake news? It looks like we've just lost Farai on the line, but we'll just quickly go through your WhatsApp messages here, which are coming through thick and fast here. And this one here is coming from 687, and this one is saying, great topic, Owen, there. It's an eye-opener. How do we know which websites to trust on the real news? So Farai will be back shortly on the line, but let's just take a quick commercial break.
Yes, Abigail. Yes, Abigail. Tarasika Papi, sister Abigail. Sister Abigail. Sister Abigail. Sister Abigail, let me interject and answer your question. When you say
For the first time in Zimbabwean broadcasting history, Capitalk 100.4 FM brings you the Capitalk Radio Rally. It's your opportunity to interact directly with your candidates for the 2018 harmonized elections. The candidate will have 15 minutes to present their manifesto. Then the lines will be open for the listeners to speak directly to the candidate. No presenter, no middleman, just the candidate and the electorate. Live on 100.4 FM on Facebook Live, Twitter, and live streaming. Tune in to Capitalk 100.4 FM on weekdays between 6 and 9 p.m. This is your platform to decide the kind of leadership you want. To all candidates or political parties, call Nyaradzo Makombe or Shalin Mataure for bookings on Harare number 442924. The Capitalk Radio Rally. If you love free, fair, and credible elections, Capitalk 100.4 FM loves you. Capitalk 100.4 FM, leading the conversation.
Capitalk 100.4 FM leading the conversation. The program is Tech Talk on the Deep Dive. And tonight we are discussing fake news online, social media. And we've got Farai Mudzingwa from Techsim is helping us go through this topic. Now, Farai, I'm not sure if you were listening in when Russell called in earlier. Did you hear what he said?
Unfortunately, the line had dropped, so yeah, I didn't get to hear that.
All right. Now, Russell was just saying the whole issue of fake news. I think there's that issue of polarization, media polarization. Is this the issue behind the fake news? Is the media too polarized, not only in Zimbabwe, not only in Harare, but worldwide?
Yeah, it's one of the problems. It is one of the problems, definitely, in that people who write stories, unfortunately, they also have motives and agendas of their own, and sometimes the situation or context around where they live and whatnot could mean that their motives become very apparent in what they write, which is not supposed to be the case, but at times this ends up being the case.
All right. Now, there was also another message which came through. This one came through from Lillian in the Avenues. They just, she just sent her name through just now, saying a great topic there, Owen. It's an eye-opener. How do we know which websites to trust on real news?
Well, in terms of which websites to trust, it's hard to give a list, a defined list, but it's also about.
You may not necessarily give the list of the websites, but maybe the characteristics of the websites that show that this is a credible source and this is not a so credible source.
Okay, so when you're verifying information, it would also be wise to see which other outlets are reporting said information, because if it's an extreme event being reported and only one publication has picked it up in maybe 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, that's a sign that this might not necessarily be true, because it can't be exclusive for that long. So in terms of verification, it's just about checking a number of sources to see how true a story actually is.
So in other words, it is very important to check or verify information with the more reputable media houses.
Exactly.
But then that brings in another point. What's the whole point of having social media, news on social media or online, if you have to then verify with the so-called credible media sources?
Well, the point of social media is to give people a voice, and that comes with fortunate and unfortunate consequences. Mm-hmm. So yes, social media has made it easier for news to spread, but it's also made it easier for misinformation to spread. So you have to be very careful when you're checking from social media, because you don't know the interest of the person spreading that news, and you don't know how credible that person is as well. So social media might not be the best place to always get your news. If you get news from social media, verify it first before you get to share it with your family and friends.
All right, but the so-called credible or traditional media houses are also using online platforms. They're also using social media as well. Now, from an entrepreneur position, do you think the traditional sources of media, your print, your broadcast, are going to survive? or maybe social media online is the way to go from an entrepreneur point of view?
Well, you said it yourself that they are actually embracing these platforms. So I think they will survive. They may have a harder time adopting or adjusting, but I do think they will survive. They'll survive because they've already got established relationships with advertisers, and they can easily transition to online or as easily as possible. But yeah, I do think they will survive long term.
All right, great. The program is the Tech Talk on Capitalk 100.4 FM. The voice of Harare leading the conversation. Let's just quickly go to our WhatsApp platform. And this one is coming from Tendai. Is saying fake news can emanate from any sector, whether the traditional source or otherwise. What's imperative is that the source originator gathers up enough facts before dissemination. Do you agree with Tendai, Farai?
Yes, I do agree. But one of the problems is that fake news sometimes is very intentional. So a person might have the facts, or they might not even want to gather the facts because they want to push their own agenda. So unfortunately, it's hard to get to that point where fake news is eradicated completely because people are pushing different motives and agendas.
All right, and this one is coming from 133. Unfortunately, they did not sign off. We always encourage our listeners to sign off. Let us know who you are, where you're listening to us from. But however, it says, I particularly like the definition of what fake news is, which Farai said is primarily misinformation, and to be amiss to thus not say that even mainstream media, which are usually so-called credible sources, a good example is within a certain publication that have been caught on the wrong side, having published falsehoods, not to mention being partisan and clearly lacking objectivity in reporting. So now that brings in a whole new dimension, Farai. Fake news, in our definition, is it only misinformation? What else is fake news? From what the WhatsApp here just sent 133. How else can we define fake news?
I think misinformation is the best term, and the reason why I like to stick to it is because it could be intentional misinformation, or it's not intentional misinformation. But at the end of the day, it's news that is not credible. It's not what's happening on the ground. It's not a clear picture, or at least a fair picture of what's happening on the ground. So I do think misinformation is really a good way to describe fake news.
All right, great. If you're joining us, the program is the Tech Talk on Capitalk 100.4 FM. My name is Owen Kaura, and tonight we are discussing fake news, primarily looking at online and social media. How is this affecting us as a nation, especially as we head towards the election day, which is just next week, Monday, just 6 days. And still going back to our WhatsApp platform, messages are coming through. This one is coming from Trevor in Greendale, saying, here, fake news is also known as invisible hand in economics. It's a socio-economic tool. Another name is phishing. It's like the devil's advocate. It's designed to rattle the cage. My advice is read, listen widely to avoid deliberate, targeted misinformation. Your take, Farai?
Well, I think that's something I agree with entirely. We also have to use discernment as consumers. Sometimes news is just unbelievable to the point where, like, you wonder why people actually give credibility to these kind of stories and why they continue sharing them, when these are clearly things that when you receive them yourself, you are just amazed. And yeah, so I do really think that discernment is also really required upon the people, because people, as I've pointed out before, people have different motives. Some of it is to get money, some of it is to push certain agendas or ideas. So it's really imperative that we look out for each other's backs, or you look out for your own back and try to really discern on what's credible news, what's not credible news.
All right, great. We are Capitalk 100.4 FM, the voice of Harare, leading the conversation. The program is the Tech Talk on the Deep Dive. But just to divert a bit, we've got a message coming through from one of our listeners. This is 814 saying there's a serious traffic jam along Seke Road. He's not sure what the cause is, but the inward city lane has been taken over by the outward bound vehicles and an ambulance is failing to pass through. It's been like that for the last 15 minutes. So please make sure that if you're driving on the roads, especially during this rush hour, please make sure you drive carefully and you give way to emergency vehicles as well. And just quickly back to the program, we are joined on the line by Farai Mudzingwa from TechZim, and we are discussing the issue of fake news, which is a problem, especially on social media and online. And we're just going through your WhatsApp messages, and this one is coming through from 231. Again, they did not sign off, saying it's a very direct question, this one, Farai. Propaganda and fake news, are they the same?
Yes, in some instances, they are the same, unfortunately. And that's where discernment comes, where you have to have an eye for that thing. You have to train yourself to actually be able to spot what's meant to mislead you as a consumer and what's meant to inform you as a consumer.
All right. Now, messages keep coming through Farai on our WhatsApp platform. That's 0717 777. And this one is saying, Farai, we do follow the credible websites and media houses, but the problem is journalists are in competition of breaking the stories through stories being fake or not fully investigated. This is coming from Munya in Kwadzana. What's your take on journalists trying to get the scoop?
Personally, I'm not a big fan of this rush around breaking the news, but unfortunately, it's become a part of journalism because there's just so much competition. That's how digital or online or the internet, at least, that's how the internet has affected journalism. So everyone is in a rush to have the breaking news, the exclusive. So it's something that I think is here to stay, but personally, I'm not a big fan as well because that's how people are misled.
All right. Now, we've been speaking of TechZim. You're an online platform. That's your platform. That's your area. That's your forte. But now, let's just go. You are obviously in business, right?
Yes.
How
Indeed.
do you make profits online?
How do we what?
How do you make profits?
Okay, so we're actually not too different from yourselves at Capitalk. Media has traditionally relied on advertising as its primary source of revenue, and for the most part, it actually still does to this day. So most of our funding comes from advertising, just like TV, just like physical print. Essentially, we're just the same.
The reason why I asked that question is, does that not put you under pressure from advertisers to always make sure that there's so much traffic on your website? And hence the issue of fake news creeping in.
Well, yeah, it's a double-edged sword. You would like traffic to be as high as possible, but you would also like to have that. You would also like to have that integrity and to build that community. So, if you're always chasing traffic without really putting much thought into it, or without trying to give people the best content they can consume, at the end of the day, people are not going to come there. So that's one of the disadvantages, where once people know that you guys are a bogus publication, then that traffic is going to lower. So you have to strike a balance.
So let's just say it's been 24 hours. There hasn't been any breaking or sensational story online. What then do you do?
We write about a bunch of stuff. We can resort to opinion pieces, and news is really. We also write regional news and global news. So it's not always about having breaking news for the sake of having breaking news. It's about giving people information. It's about giving people content that they'll love and content they'll relate to.
Now, there's been a proliferation, of course, of these online publications. We won't mention them by name, others which are not so credible. So what advice would you give to the editors or the writers on these platforms who are sometimes propagating a fake news, yellow journalism?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. But what I would say is, I mean, do it for the right for the right purpose, because unfortunately, people still consume media with that trust they had when it was more traditional and it was more where the costs were higher, where the costs and quality invested in the content were higher. But that's not the case. So I would advise editors and writers just to inform people with accurate information.
Well, the program is Tech Talk on Capitalk 100.4 FM. My name is Owen Kaura. And if you're just joining us, we are discussing fake news, online news, social media, especially as we approach the election date. And your WhatsApp messages keep coming through. And this one is coming from Jez Chijete. And Jez says, interesting topic, Owen. Specifically in this period of elections, unscrupulous individuals are using fake news to attain different goals, maybe to promote themselves, smear others, or create anxiety among the electorate. But as Zimbabweans, for us to have free, fair, and credible elections, we must desist from fake news. But the problem is that social media sites make big money over these fake news. Is there any law that can be used against fake news perpetrators? Farai.
Yeah, when it comes to laws, it depends. It depends. It depends. At times, if it's character defamation, there's lawsuits and whatnot. But outright laws, that's a problem that's still trying to be figured out world over in terms of how to strike that balance between regulating media and censorship. Because the problem with making outright laws to govern fake news is lawmakers are usually the government, and to give the government that power might not be the best of ideas. They may resort to censorship. So it's a tricky debate, and in many countries, I know Malaysia recently they placed a law, and human rights activists are not too happy about that. So it's really a tricky balance to strike.
All right, a very tricky balance to strike. But here in Zimbabwe, we've got the Access to Information and Protection of Privacy Act. Do you think it fully addresses this issue of fake news?
Definitely not. Definitely not, because I don't think when those laws were established, they had social media and online platforms in mind. So those laws were meant more to govern traditional print. So I don't think those laws fully cover what we are dealing with now.
All right, we've got another message coming through on our WhatsApp platform. This one is coming from Tinashe Nyahasha, saying another big problem is the filter bubbles. People stick to media voices that agree with their already held views. This leaves them vulnerable to fake news and manipulation. I think that's a very valid point, where people have got we spoke of polarization earlier on. The media is so polarized, and so maybe the population is also polarized. If it's from this publication or from this source, then their view is right. If it's not from this source, then their view is not right. What's your take?
Yeah, I think, and this applies to many aspects of just life in general. We have to be as open-minded as possible. So you may not like a certain publication, but also try to read and understand why they say what they're saying, and if it's factual, just respect that it's factual, even if it doesn't appeal to your biases. So, yeah, I entirely agree with that.
All right, great. Now, Farai, are there any other instruments that the government or media players can use to guard against fake news? We spoke of the policies like IPA, and you also touched a bit on self-regulation, the media self-regulating. What other instruments that can be used, or maybe you can elaborate on some of those policies and instruments which can be used to guard against fake news, especially online and on social media?
I think at this point, what the government can do is they can partner with media houses and really partake in education awareness campaigns where already there's a lot of talk about being in the digital age and making adjustments. And the way we consume news is one of those adjustments we have to make. There are a lot of publications, and people have to be taught how to verify information and people also have to be taught how to be responsible when they receive information and that kind of thing. So I think education awareness campaigns are really important at this time.
All right, education and awareness campaigns really important. The program is a Tech Talk on the Deep Dive. My name is Owen Kaura, and tonight we are discussing the issue of fake news, especially online as well as on social media. And I am joined on the line by Farai Mudzingwa from TechZim, and we are going through this issue. And back to the WhatsApp platform here. This one is coming from Rudo in Chisipiti. He's saying, in order to curb the generation of spreading fake news, I think it's best to equip ordinary people on how to identify fake news. It's surprising how people trust the forwarded messages on WhatsApp. What's your take there?
I entirely agree with that. I'm constantly having these conversations with my mom when she forwards something, and I'm like, thank you for looking out for me, but I don't think this is entirely true. So people, especially older people, it seems, they put a lot of trust into. I've noticed WhatsApp especially. Anything they receive on WhatsApp, maybe it's because they receive it from family. They then believe it. They automatically believe that information is true. And that's one of the ways social media is really proliferating, as you said, the spread of fake news. And it's so instant and so quick. So it's quite unfortunate, but something has to be done.
We will get back to that shortly, Farai. Let's just take a quick commercial break.
Great.
They have been asking for your vote. They've been selling their ideas to you. They say they know your needs. You have been to their rallies, meetings, and gatherings. You have paid attention, but have they listened to you? Do they really deserve your vote? Have they paid real attention? As Zimbabwe inches closer to the harmonized elections on July 30, 2018, meet your candidates. Tendai Biti, MDC Alliance, Dr. Nkosana Moyo, Alliance for People's Agenda, Ambassador Chris Muchangwa, ZANU-PF, Professor Love Maduku, National Constitutional Assembly. 25th of July 2018, 7 p.m. sharp, at Crown Plaza's Great Indaba Room. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity with limited seats. For more information, get in touch with Ivy on 0772 357 431 or Tendai on 0718 888 596. The Elected debate series brought to you by Zim Papers Television Network and The Voice of America.
Well, if you're just joining us, this is Capitalk 100.4 FM. The program is a Tech Talk on the Deep Dive. We are the Voice of Harare leading the conversation. And tonight we are discussing the issue of fake news on social media as well as online. And I am joined by Farai Mudzingwa from TechZim. And we're just going through this conversation. And we've been seeing your WhatsApp messages. And this one is coming through from 250. And this one is saying, good evening, Owen. Now, fake news is always propagated or fueled by people who always look at things through a keyhole. Some people want to view the public media as the only credible source of news, and some people don't want to view the private media as the only credible source of news. But tonight we are discussing the issue of online, those messages that come through WhatsApp without you verifying those. Now, Farai, it's interesting. WhatsApp has got 8 million users here in Zimbabwe. So that's quite a huge platform. Now, what can be done? Like you were saying, you always talk to your mother about the forwarded messages. What else can be done to make sure that even the older generation also gets to appreciate that not everything that comes up on WhatsApp is actually true?
I think, as disclosed before, education awareness campaigns, because once it becomes not trendy or not the cool thing to be receiving your news on WhatsApp or to be breaking news on WhatsApp, even I think the older people as well will shy away from that behavior and problem solved, because I don't really see how else it can be solved, because WhatsApp themselves have been trying to solve this problem, and they've been having challenges. They recently added, I don't know if you noticed, they recently added a label to forwarded messages.
Yes.
But it's really one of the most useless features I've seen on WhatsApp for a long time. Because if someone forwards a true message, it doesn't really help you to decide or to know what is true or what is not true. So it's a tricky situation.
Now, just a few days ago, most probably yesterday, you wrote an interesting article which I think really touched on another angle. The cost or the impact of fake news on the economy. The RBZ Governor, Dr. John Mangunjika, was actually saying it's got a huge impact, and you covered that story. And you, coming from that online platform, what's your take? What's the impact of fake news, not only on the individual, but on the country as a whole?
It could be devastating. I'll give two examples that I think are great. One is in Zim. I think you will remember late last year when there were messages spreading that there's going to be like oil shortage and whatnot, and people rushed to the shops and actually created a situation out of that message. That's how fake news can actually impact a country. And then another great example, maybe one of the most outstanding examples right now, is the situation in India, where over the past year, I think there's been more than 15 people who have been killed because of fake news being spread on WhatsApp. So what happens is someone sends a message and says Owen is abducting children, and unfortunately, the mob reacts in a really negative way, and Owen is attacked and Owen is lynched, unfortunately, and no one verifies whether Owen was actually kidnapping children. And this has happened in India, 4 different incidents of that same nature, where people are accused of things they have not done, and it's resulted in their death. So the impact could really be devastating.
Devastating indeed. On that note, let's just take a quick commercial break.
They have been asking for your vote. They've been selling their ideas to you. They say they know your needs. You have been to their rallies, meetings, and gatherings. You have paid attention. But have they listened to you? Do they really deserve your vote? Have they paid real attention? As Zimbabwe inches closer to the harmonized elections on July 30, 2018, meet your candidates. Tendai Biti, MDC Alliance, Dr. Nkosana Moyo, Alliance for People's Agenda, Ambassador Chris Muchangwa, ZANU-PF, Professor Love Maduku, National Constitutional Assembly. 25th of July 2018, 7 p.m. sharp at Crom Plaza's Great Indaba Room. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity with limited seats. For more information, get in touch with Ivy on 0772 357 431 or Tendai on 0718 888 596. The Elected debate series brought to you by Zim Papers Television Network and The Voice of America.
Well, you're listening to Capitalk 100.4 FM, the voice of Harare, leading the conversation. This is Tech Talk on the Deep Dive. And tonight we are discussing this issue of fake news on social media and online platforms as well. And we are joined on the line by Farai Mudzingwa from TechZim, and we are going through this conversation. And your WhatsApp messages keep coming through. That's on 0717 777. You can also call on 495 112. And this one is coming from Aldridge in Mabel Rain. It's saying you should always look out for verified accounts on Twitter, Facebook, or whichever platform you use. Most organizations also release information on their official websites. 99% of everything on WhatsApp is not proper information. A problem yedu muno mnyika ndekuti munhu wese anoda kunzi ndiye atanga kubuditsa nyaya. Have a thorough understanding of the official platforms of the organizations that you're interested in. Now, how do verified accounts work, Farai?
Yeah, that's that's really not my forte. But of course, Twitter has a way of actually knowing that certain organizations are who they claim to be indeed. Certain organizations and people are who they claim to be indeed, which is why it's such a prestigious badge and why you hear that at times people actually try to like pay for verification on Twitter, because it's one of those things that give credibility to media houses and to people. But in Zim, this doesn't apply entirely, because yet there are very few people who are verified. The last time I checked, which was maybe a month or two ago, even the president's account was not verified. So
all right.
in Zim, it's a tricky situation.
Now, just as we round up, obviously we cannot separate fake news and hate speech during this election period. And the ZRP has already warned people against that. And Home Affairs Minister Dr. Obet Mpofu yesterday also did the same. What is your message regarding hate speech as we round up the program, especially as we look at WhatsApp messages, social media, as well as other online platforms?
Well, this is going to sound cliche, but I would urge people to be more responsible on online, because generally, if you go online, it's really it's something else when it comes to hate speech. And I guess people tend to say these things because of the anonymity, or because of the fact that they're hidden and no one can see them. But I would urge people to just be respectful, to have integrity, and to understand that people have different views, so we should try our level best to respect each other.
We'll try our level best to respect each other, so says Farai Mudzingwa from TechZim. The program has been a Tech Talk on Capitalk 100.4 FM, and tonight we were discussing fake news online as well as on social media. We urge you to be responsible and not to spread unverified news or hate speech. Many thanks to TechZim as well for your time. Thank you very much, Farai, for joining us.
Thanks, Owen, for the invite. It was amazing.
And thank you very much for listening to Capitalk 100.4 FM. Stay tuned.
Thank you for tuning in to Capitalk 100.4 FM, leading the conversation.